We're at the IAS meeting in Amsterdam. We're here with Lambert Grijns, who is ambassador to the Netherlands. And we appreciate you taking the time. You just came from a press conference, which was very exciting and very enlightening, because it was the people who are most in a position to discuss the issues around Eastern Europe, the challenges they face. There was a bit of contention here and there with questions and so forth. But I think it is a challenge, and it's growing. And Elton John was very displeased with that. He was giving some rather stern messages. Mm-hmm. So tell us some of the challenges that governments face when having to push for this kind of, I mean, I'm sure everybody wants to see things improve. It's just a matter of the challenges you face.
Yeah, I think you're right. There are many challenges, and the message we are always sending out is this conference has two messages. AIDS is not over yet, so we have to do a lot of work yet. But on the other hand, we have achieved already a lot, and we know what needs to be done. We know what works. Elton John was actually asking for more courage. I think that was the basis of what, I mean, the key of what he was saying. We need to have more courage to address stigma and discrimination. We need to focus on the most marginalized people. He gave as an example the LGBTI community in Eastern Europe, but I'm also thinking about drug users, or about sex workers, or about prisoners, young people. And we need, I think, also to make sure that we base our policies on evidence.
Yeah, it's in a day of free thinkers. I think we have to get ourselves down and grounded by the science. And it seems there's more and more examples of that, where they're proving out what we need to do. And I think one of the frustrations was that with Elton and a number of other activists that are here at the conferences, we know the science. Now we need to live it. We need to put it to reality and put it to the test. So if one of the things that I was concerned about is that we do eventually find a way to have the pharmaceutical companies come to a better understanding of how to get connected with the people who are, like you say, marginalized, or who are invisible populations, or however you want to describe them, and also get in touch with the people who are not noticeable. I mean, they just don't seem to be coming to the services, because those are the people that are out there spreading the disease, maybe for many years, and until they actually have opportunistic infections or comorbidities in HIV, they don't evidence themselves. So that's critical. So are there any other things that the government could do you think, to, if you had wave your wand and could make things happen?
Yeah, well, I think we all have to play our role and have to find our added value. I'm representing a government, so our added value is in reaching out to other governments. Yesterday we had here a group of 10 ministers, vice ministers from Eastern European countries, including Russia, including Belarus, Kazakhstan, Ukraine. These are the countries which are hardest hit with the rise of new HIV infections. So for us as a government, our added value is in trying to get these politicians together and discuss this issue. And HIV is about inequality. It's about people who are normally not very popular in societies, such as drug users. So governments typically do not want to address these issues. It's not popular to talk about drug use or to talk about sex workers. So governments tend to shy away publicly from those discussions. Okay, I understand that, but I don't accept it. Which means that as a government we need to discuss from a human rights perspective the position of these marginalized groups. We need to discuss sexuality, we need to discuss drug use. And that's what we did yesterday in a closed setting, behind closed doors, with other politicians. That's our added value as a government. Another example is that we work together with civil society partners, we work together with private sector, because there's only one way we can end AIDS, and that's by working together. It's not just a responsibility of government, it's also a responsibility,
but
I think,
everybody coming to the table.
That's it. That's
in the appropriate settings. Like you said, that one was a closed setting because you had things to talk about, you wanted to talk shop.
Right.
But it really is a conference that many of us aren't aware of every piece that happens.
Yeah.
This is something that didn't go publicized, I guess, but it is something that happened, importantly so, because it, and here it is at the conference, which they could attend some sessions, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
And as well as have this closed door meeting where you could really talk turkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So without saying what happened, did you feel a sense of promise from that meeting?
Several. One promise was that, or one intention is that we will have more of these meetings. And I was very happy with that conclusion. Hey, this makes sense. Let's talk to each other.
Exactly.
Because in every country we see successes. In Russia, in Belarus, in Kazakhstan, we see successes and we see best practices. And countries want to learn from each other. Because it's too easy to say that you can, from day one to day two, from one day to the other day, change policies.
Right, we were talking about that earlier.
Policies is about changing cultural and social norms.
Over time, and eventually change it. But
so,
we have to speed up the process.
But we have to speed it up. And I think governments basically are willing, and now in Eastern Europe I see an awareness of the huge costs for society of not addressing HIV. So the cost effectiveness issue now becomes really...
Even, I used to say this many years ago when we were trying to fund AIDS drugs.
Yeah.
Even if you don't care about the humanity of it,
Yeah.
it's not efficient running of the government because it will cost you down the line big money.
Yeah. Now, for instance, on harm reduction, so the whole set of policies related to injecting drug users, think about clean needle exchange programs or opioid substitution programs, methadone. The cost of having someone in a prison because he or she is a drug user compared to the cost of having the same person in a social security system with harm reduction is outrageous. I mean, that is much more expensive to have someone in a criminalized setting. So for a society to accept that, hey, my taxpayers' money goes to someone who is being kept in prisons and it doesn't help at all, because the moment that person is released, he will go back again, because people who use drugs normally
so we have to
continue using drugs.
Get to the root of the problem.
So that's also how we in the Netherlands in the 80s and the 90s of the last century reversed our thinking on drug use. Hey, we try to prevent drug use. If that's not possible, we try to help people treating them. But if that does not help, and with many drug users that doesn't help, we have to address people from a point of view of care and a health perspective.
Take them from where they are.
And that's what we call harm reduction, to reduce harm to that person, but also reduce harm to the society. So from that moment on, drug use in the Netherlands, injecting drug use, dropped rapidly. But also HIV connected to injecting drug use dropped rapidly. And now for already a couple of years in the Netherlands, I'm proud to say that we have 0 transmissions of HIV amongst drug users. So, and you see this in Malaysia, now in Kazakhstan, in China. China is the biggest consumer, so to say, of methadone. And you would not expect that in Iran. In countries which we think have repressive regimes, but still, even in those countries, you see governments which are trying to find ways to do something here. Like we also started in the Netherlands. In a criminalized setting, we did try to introduce harm reduction practices. So, and I think this is happening in many countries, governments.
The shame it had to take so long because you could have sat down and done the numbers and said, "Oh, this makes a lot more sense than that." Just
that's true, and I think we need to speed up. The good news, of course, is that there are countries like Ukraine, which was mentioned during the press conference, which in a relatively short period of time can make a change.
Yeah.
The extremely good news is that in many African countries now, for quite some time already, the number of new HIV infections is going down thanks to increasing treatment. The good news is that in Western countries such as the Netherlands, the rate of new HIV infections is going down.
And you want to go to zero.
It was announced by the mayor of Amsterdam that Amsterdam wants to be an AIDS-free city.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'd be wonderful. What an example to set for others.
Yeah, and there are a couple of cities, Paris, San Francisco, but also Kiev, St. Petersburg, which was mentioned,
Yeah, we
other
talked
cities,
about,
Odessa, which are so-called fast-track cities. Well, let's see how they will. Maybe we should have this interview 2 years from now. See
That's a
whether
date. We'll do it.
we will walk the talk.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you so much
All
for
right.
being here. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you very much.